I'm going to talk to you about a subject that most people hate, most people run from, and it's conflict. Some people say that they don't mind conflict, but most people in my experience hate it. And many are even conflict avoidant. My husband always said, oh my gosh, you're perfect to teach conflict classes because you're so good at it. He didn't mean good at teaching the classes, by the way. Anyway, I don't especially like conflict, just like everybody else, but I do at least know that the only way to resolve something is if you work through it. So there's my first test question to you. Of all marital conflicts, what percent are actually resolved? Meaning she wanted Italian, he wanted Chinese, and they came to a resolution saying, I absolutely am going to agree with you. I like the one you like. Okay, that's kind of inane, but if we went to something bigger, like are we going to raise the kids Catholic or Jewish? Now there's a bigger conflict. So resolving it, saying, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to change my mind and go to your opinion. Again, what percent of the time do you think that that's resolved? 30. That means 7 out of 10 times in your marriage, your conflict will not be resolved. So first of all, I hope that that's offering you a little bit of comfort. Not that only 30% are resolved, but the fact that you're no different than most couples in that if you're expecting, oh my gosh, we fight all the time, we don't agree all the time, you're not weird, you're not rare. So with most couples, we only agree on these conflicts 3 out of 10 times. So what do you do with the other 7? You manage them. Means you're going to have an opinion, he's going to have an opinion, and then how are we going to work through them? I'll never want to be Jewish, you'll never want to be Catholic, quite possibly. I will never want to live in Wisconsin, you'll never want to live in Arizona. So what do? So we need to learn to manage conflict. So one of the things that I tell couples to start with is understanding what conflict is. So conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is actually at its core that which will make you closer when you work through it. It's just this friction point because Jesus said the two shall be as one. Well, that means you need to rough off some of yours and he needs to rough off some of his or vice versa. But when most people go into conflict, they don't know how to do that properly. And what actually happens is most people tear each other down. So I want to show you something that I use frequently as a model. If you want to resolve your conflict, you've got to stay on the issue level. So here's a little old school that I use, right? The issue level. This is what I call the conflict escalation model. The conflict escalation model basically talks about how we escalate conflict. It'll escalate from the issue level, often up to the personality level, up to then the relationship level. So what does that mean? Okay, so here's the issue. The issue is I want to talk with you about money, right? So oftentimes I'll say, well, I really think we need to save more. And you're like, well, but we save all the time. Sometimes, I need a little freedom to go spending. And then if we maybe talk more and we're like, well, you're such a jerk. You never want to listen to me. Guess what you've just done? You have just escalated your conflict from the issue up to the personality. You're a jerk. You don't know how to manage money. Why'd I even bother trying to talk with you about it? Now, many times, most of you watching this have escalated up to the personality level. It's not good, right? But because we're imperfect humans, we can bring it back down. So the reason it's so important to bring it down from the personality level is that if we stay on the personality level too often, every single time you and I have a fight about money, every time we talk about your mother-in-law, every time we talk about vacations, every time we talk about my job, my video games, your spending, your whatever, we end up in a fight. When we escalate it from that issue to you're a jerk, you can't spend. Why do you do this? I can't believe it. You're just like your mother. The more and the more and the more that we bring an issue to your personality means I'm not even talking the issue anymore. I'm just focusing on you. If I do that too many times, it escalates up to the relationship level. Did you ever have one of those fights where, we started out good, we were talking about the finances, but then we attacked each other? Then you're like, screw you. I don't even want to talk to you. You go to bed mad, or you'll fight, or you'll sulk, or whatever. This is the deadly thing. This is where divorce happens. This is where people say, I never really loved you anyway. No, that's wrong. Because I will say this, it's easier if you never get to the personality level. It's easier, but many of us will. So what I want to teach you to do is de-escalate your conflict. Stay at the issue level. Because once you get here, it's nearly impossible to break down. You get divorced and it's like, I'm done. Now, my husband and I were at the relationship level. That's why I filed for divorce. We were apart for 4 years. But we're about to celebrate our 40th, as I've said on many of these videos, which means we have learned to go backwards. Don't do it the way we did it. Don't go up to the relationship level only to de-escalate, because it takes a whole heck of a lot more work. So in your conflicts, I want to teach you to stay on the issue level. So when we do that, if we have a particular conflict, we talk about finances is an easy one, you know, so say you go to the mailbox and you open up the mailbox and you see a notice for 3 bounced checks and you're like livid because you're the one that's like really trying to take care of your money. Here's an example of the personality level. You open up your mailbox and you're like, what? Oh, I'm so mad. You quickly dial up the phone. You call your spouse at work. Hey, I got to talk to you. We got 3 bounce checks. Babe, I can't talk to you right now. I'm at work. I don't care. You got 3 bounce checks. You told me. Babe, I can't talk now. Can you talk later? I'm not going to talk later because every time we try to say we're going to talk later, you don't ever do it. You avoid. What? You freaking hung up on me? Oh, I will get you. And then you wait and you sulk and they come home 4 hours later. You're at the door. You're like, okay, you ready to talk, idiot? Oh, don't know how to do it. And then it breaks into this big fight where it's like, oh, what? You never learned how to do math because you went to a stupid public school. You didn't go to Catholic school like me, you jerk. Why don't you learn how to do this? So how was that working for you? How did that go to the personality level? Did that stay on the issue? Because if I jump down your throat and I'm telling you you're a jerk, you don't know how to do math, how'd you ever get through high school? Not the least of which those are dirty fighting techniques, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. I've just attacked you, and I haven't even dealt with the issue. As a matter of fact, when your spouse walks in the front door in that example, they might not even know what you're mad about. You may not have even mentioned to them that you got 3 bounce checks, and the issue might be something that you have to express differently, like, babe, I am so upset. Oh, actually, let me just go into the better way to do it. So you get those same 3 bounce check notices, and first thing you want to do is you're livid. So remember, staying on the issue level does not mean not being upset. It doesn't mean faking and holding it in like, no, I'm not bothered by these at all. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. But the issue level means I'm going to think about how can I best deal with this issue of the bounce checks and my husband who's managing the money or my wife who's managing the money, and she promised me she was doing okay, he was doing okay. So you get these bounce checks, you open the mailbox, and instead of calling them, you're like, no, Christine, I'm going to think about this. No, how can I address this? You know what? He's at work. I know he's got that meeting today. Maybe even when they come home, you're like, hey, babe, we need to talk. But they're like, yeah, sure, let's talk now. No, let's wait. And they might not know what you're going to talk about. It's like, that's okay. It's like, let's just talk after dinner. So maybe have the meal and say, look, I'm pretty upset. I have to tell you, we've been saving money for the house. You told me you've been managing the money well. And I opened the mailbox and there's 3 bounce checks. And I'm upset because we're doing that pre-approval on the house right now. And I'm thinking this is going to affect our credit. They may not approve us. I mean, did you realize we were bouncing checks? What happened? And so when you do it that way, your spouse now knows, okay, I know what the issue is. The issue is there's 3 bounce checks. The other part of the issue is she's upset because she's afraid we may not qualify for the pre-approval. It may affect our credit. So all these things. Now this gives your spouse an opportunity to say, babe, I had no idea. I balanced a check to the penny and we shouldn't have bounce checks. And so now we can start a conversation. Or it may. Let's just go further. And if your spouse is at fault, it will give them a chance to go, oh, I had that deposit I wrote down and I never got to the credit union. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But see, when you attacked the issue, it gave your spouse this freedom, this vulnerability to be able to go, I made a mistake. And then it allows you to go, what are we going to do from here? How can we resolve it? Again, I'm not saying that you're going to be happy, like, oh, honey, thank you so much for admitting the flaw. You're still going to be like, and maybe this is a problem he or she's done before, like, yeah, you know, and you have to talk it through, maybe change over who does the money or whatever. But it is essential for the sake of your marriage that you do not escalate that conflict and attack the person. Because this is the person made in the image and likeness of God that you promised you would love. Remember? Love is not rude, jealous, keep records of wrongs, all those things. Love is not angry or nasty or spiteful. Love does not attack the other person. If instead you had gone through that first example, you're nothing but a jerk. I can't believe you. You freaking moron. You don't do math. Let's assume it wasn't even your spouse's fault. Let's assume it wasn't their fault. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, because in their mind they're thinking, I balanced that checkbook to the penny. Now that you just attacked him or her, do you think they're going to come, oh, babe, you know what? No, I didn't do that. They're going to be like, up, chuck, and die, man. What the heck is wrong with you? You want to get down my throat? Let me tell you about this. You know what you do? That last time that you cooked food and everybody hated it because you burnt it, and then you said, blah, whatever. So we start attacking each other. But what if your spouse was wrong and you attacked them? You know, you're a jerk, you're this, you're that. Are they going to admit their flaw? Are you even opening for them this door, this ability to say, oh man, I'm sorry, I made a mistake? No, because you've just attacked them. You have attacked their personality, you've attacked their finances, you've attacked their money management, you've attacked their education. And that destroys the relationship. So it's very simple in theory. Very simple. When you have anything you need to talk about, the onus is on you to stay on the issue level. The onus is on you to think through how you want to phrase what you're going to phrase. And I want you to be as gentle with your words as you would be if it was your grandmother. Grandma, you're making some mistakes here. Kind, loving, tender, not rude, not jealous, all those things that 1 Corinthians is. Only then can you resolve those 7 out of 10 issues in your marriage. Guys, this isn't easy. We have got to work on it. And the work begins with ourselves. We've got to look at the areas that we failed, the areas that we're good at. And I'm going to do a future video on who's more likely to I'll talk about stuffers and escalators. But for now, I just want you to kind of keep this in your mind. Do not escalate conflict in your marriage. Do not attack the person. Don't attack your spouse. They're imperfect. Attack the issue. And when you do that, you will be giving your marriage one of the greatest gifts you can possibly give it. Because then your spouse will know, well, you know what? We can work through problems. That's my tip for the day. Just curious, post below. Have you ever gone to the personality level, or are you likely to go to the personality level, or are you actually pretty good at staying at the issue level? Post a time where you did one or the other and tell me how you are going to work to improve on that next time. Love to hear from you. Remember, no one's judging you. I do this because you are more likely to change a bad habit the more senses you involve. See it, feel it, touch it, smell it, breathe it. So you've heard me say it, so you need to hear yourself say, I'm going to get better at. See it in writing, write it down. And then you've used touch, you've sight, you've heard yourself. Can't really smell your response. So this is a retention tool. Do your best. Write down these answers to yourself and promise to the Lord Jesus that you're going to do better at loving your spouse, because your spouse is Jesus. And you don't want to ever attack Jesus. Okay. That's your bacon bit for this week. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. I hope your marriage is just that much better. God bless.